Hi guys, been a while since I uploaded a video, so today I'm gonna make a video today. Wanted to talk about why I believe that hyperinflation is basically already here. So it's pretty much the cost of living that the government doesn't really tell you, and all this is really happening just because of all the money printing and government spending that is happening. And really, I just want to cover the basis how this affects you. And if most people aren't aware of things, or they're not looking at the right things. So I wanted to get into it today, so that way it would open your eyes and why you would why it's important to know this information. So just getting into it here. Well, first let's just look at what the national debt is today. So what is the national debt? No, what is the national debt today? All right, so right now, well, here we go. We have hit $34 trillion, and so when you look at the debt clock here, it's just kind of basically showing that we are at 34 trillion, about to hit 35 trillion, and it's pretty wild. And so what happens is that just too much government spending on everything from, well, of course, healthcare like Medicare, but the military, the wars, all this crazy stuff. So most of the spending here, it's the government can't afford it. So what do? Pretty much just print a whole bunch of money, and when they do that, there's interest on that money as well too, and so it's a whole mess. But just get into it here. I wanted to explain, go over the consequences of why this is not good for everyone. So get into it here. A lot of people don't understand that the cost of living goes up, and they might not understand what that really means. And what that means is basically anything from your groceries, housing, utilities, taxes, everything goes up. But not just that, not just like your cost of living, but also like assets such as your investments. So whether it's real estate investing or your business or stock market, that all goes up at the same time. So it creates like a kind of like an endless cycle of everything just goes up forever. So quickly going over through, just kind of showing data that I think it would be important for the average person. So, so looking at average tuition for college, per the decade. In the 80s, tuition was around, let's see there, public university around $3,716 or so. And it keeps rising. It rose on an average of 9.7%. So just a quick overview. And then in the 90s, tuition and fees increased 25% faster at a rate of 8.5%. And then 2000s here was seeing that average tuition jumped by 65% from $8,661 to $14,307 per year. So pretty much the trend is essentially for college tuition, it just went up forever. And it will, essentially forever. Unless there's some sort of crazy crash. But anyway, just going here in the 2010s, it rose, college and tuition and fees rose by 17%. It just keeps going up and up and up. And so I just want to show that that's something that may be relevant to the average person here. So the next thing I wanted to get into here, just showing another part of data, is how much home prices have risen. Not just pick a random date, like you can start in the 50s or 60s, wherever, but just to show that here, that median home price, okay, $7,354. Wow, that's really low. But if you inflation adjusted to $20, and that's like 79,000. But just going through this, that's the 50s, the 60s, 11,900. You adjust it to 104. That's the 60s there. You jump to the 70s, 17,000. Now to 112, and it quickly jumps up really fast. 47,000, adjusted for inflation, and 147,000. It just keeps going and going and going. 79,000 in the 90s to 157,000, and then here we are, 2000. Median home price was 119,000. Again, it just repeats. Everything just keeps going up. You can just look at this information up yourself. And in 2010s, so median home price unadjusted, 221,000. For adjusted for inflation, 263. And then as we go on, it's a huge jump in the 2020s, 336,000. And then we go to today. So average price in the U.S. today, it's 442,000. So just to kind of show you guys that the hyperinflation, where the cost of they define as like 50% increase, but I mean this is more than 50% increase when you think about it. Just in the looking at the history to today's date. So my point really here is just trying to show the average person that, hey, you know what, it's time to wake up and realize that you when you work, your wages, they're not gonna keep up with your with inflation. So you may get like a 3% raise. Well, that's not gonna keep up with inflation. You're gonna be squeezing by, and so just trying to wake people up to see that. I wanted to kind of go over something here where the money supply, where money is created. The money supply is something that pretty much where it's government printing money or creating more money, and when that happens, it tends to drive up prices higher, particularly assets. So in this case, I'm looking at real estate and the stock market. So really, just to make it simple to understand, is that as the government prints more money or borrows the money, or as the debt gets bigger, basically it makes the value of assets go up. So the stock market goes up, everything goes up. Cost of living, inflation, real estate just keeps going up. So just to go over something here, as you can see, still average stock market return over 30 years. You're looking at an average of 10. Just say 10% in the last 30 years. So that's good. It sounds good, but what people don't realize that, how I view it is that, that's, I think a lot of people don't understand, because if the stock market goes up about 10% a year, then that means that like the real inflation, it's probably, the money supply and inflation, it's probably about 10% as well. So what I'm trying to say is that the stock market return of 10%, it's really just covering, maybe barely even covering inflation, and sometimes it doesn't even meet inflation. And so really is that you can't. What that means is basically a lot of things. Is you can't just put money in the bank, and save. That doesn't work. You have to invest your money, and not just that. You have to take risks, because otherwise, if you just leave your money in the bank or under a mattress, it's not going to keep up with inflation. And all that means is that your purchasing power goes down. You get less bang for your buck. So you can't, afford as much or get as much as for your money. And so really, just to really got to understand that the money supply, it's going to go up, and eventually something's going to break. And so that could be the dollar falling, or just a crash in the markets. Something's got to give eventually. And another thing I wanted to cover here, cost of health insurance. This is just over the decades. So just looking at back in the 50s, average person spent less than $100 per year on medical care. And just looking at it here, it keeps going up. In the 2000s, it was what? Let's see here, 2,400. And then just going over this cost, 2012, 15,000. This is for the average family. 2018, look at that average family, 18,000. This is just the rising cost of insurance. It's insane. Basically, healthcare, insurance, all that, it's continuing to go up. So in 2023, average cost for a single employee, 8,000 for the year. That doesn't include the family. Average small family, it's like over $20,000. And so, I can speak for this just for myself. Being self-employed, having insurance for my family, it's around $2,000 a month. And so let me see here. That's for 2 adults and 4 kids. So 2 adults, 4 kids, and that's around $2,000 a month. So when you think about it, that's $24,000 a year just on health insurance, and that's a lot. So the point of this video is just to understand that inflation's here, and I think if you look back far enough, you see that there is hyperinflation, where everything just has gone up like crazy, and nobody can keep up. It's impossible. If you work a 9 to 5, you get paid hourly, you trade in your time for money, And when you get a raise, it's probably 3% or 5%. Maybe some people are lucky, they may get a bonus, but in the end, it's like you have to invest and be smart with your money. You can't just, you really can't just spend your money and live your life. You really gotta go beyond that, and you have to invest, take risk. And the last point I wanted to make was that I think right now time is very limited for everybody with the time to accumulate assets, because the price of assets are going up so fast that if you were to work a regular 9 to 5 job, it's hard to buy an asset. Which what I mean by that is basically to afford buying real estate or buying a home, that's out of reach for a lot of people, especially with today's interest rates. Also, I mean, just looking at the cost of everything, it's just gone up so fast that people are just struggling to just get by with their basic needs, that most people don't even have don't have any leftover money to invest. So they're just basically just working and can't invest. So what does that mean? If you're just working and you barely are getting by, then you don't have any extra money to invest or buy assets, and then in the end, that means that you're gonna be working forever, and so that sucks. So hopefully this is a wake up call for you, or for anybody. Like and subscribe on this video, and I'll dig more into this in future videos. But really, this is just a quick overview of understanding that, well, in my opinion, that hyperinflation is essentially already here. You just have to go back in history and just look what's going on, and you see that the cost of everything keeps going up, and essentially it's going up forever. And so things are gonna start to give, where either your the quality of your life goes down, or you can't, or when you work, you barely are just getting by. You don't have any leftover money to invest, and you just essentially just spinning the wheel. The wheel just keeps spinning, and you're getting nowhere. And so, hopefully, this is something to open your eyes, and then maybe look into going beyond, and either finding ways to come up with extra income or a side hustle, or just educate yourself and find a way to make something happen. Okay, and let me see there. I think before I sign off, let me see. I think let's see there. Let's look at one last thing. I think I wanted to just kind of look at. I guess we can go by, I don't know, the price of something. Like I always like looking at things that well, it just run up with something to think about. Is that, in my opinion, you have to buy things that can at least keep up with inflation, and hopefully it's something that you can buy where you either get cash flow from it, or it's something that you won't get taxed on, or the government, or it's something that the government can't just print. And so I like real estate for sure. That's one thing I like, especially if it's cash flow in real estate. If you can get buy a rental property, have it rented, great. That's cash flow there. Or if you can buy something like gold, silver, Bitcoin, where the government can't just print that out of thin air, and they can't just tax you from owning it, then that's something I would say it's also really good. And of course, buying a cash flowing business is another way to get by. If you just buy land, like land that doesn't have anything on it, just land, and it doesn't rent, and it's just to buy land, well, that's not really helpful. Even though it's real estate and the government can't print more land, the issue is that the government will tax you on that. And so, I mean, taxes are essentially go up. I mean, taxes are just gonna go up. It's impossible for taxes not to go up. That's just how it is. So you just have to think deeply and be smart about what you do and what you invest in, and hopefully you even have money to invest. And yeah, it's gonna be a struggle for everybody. I think a lot of people are gonna get humbled, and you gotta wake up maybe and prepare yourself. All right, that's it. So yeah, like and subscribe. Thank you. Hope you learned something today.